I'd like to remind you that when you start a brand new drawing, you are either going to use the template or the default ACAD template, the one that you created or the default. So here under new, if we go to this drop down, we have the ACAD, the ones that we've used recently. The ACAD is the like blank one, and the one that we created in one of the assignments has the standards. Once you use one of these templates, the next new drawing is going to hold that template. So if you need to use a different template, you can either do it here or you can go up to the A right here and pick new drawing, and then you'll get this list of the templates that you created. You can go back to the ACAD, which is it completely blank from the beginning, or you can venture to use your template that we created together. If you do use that template and it starts a brand new drawing, it's possible that you have now all the layers that you need, whatever you've created in that template. You can even open the template and change it, but you'd have to change the files of type at the bottom. So let's say right now I just use this template, but and I did get these layers, but it still needs to be saved right here. So you still need to save it as your assignment name. But like I said, if you wanted to go over and open the template, you would have to change the files of type right down here from DWG to DWT, and that would bring you to all of those templates. So when you're opening and saving files, make sure you check, especially when you're opening your files of type, because it might still be on DWT or it's on DWG. Okay, just wanted to point that out to you. So start a brand new drawing and save it and create the layers that we've been working with. So I'd like to show you the process that we'll go through. This is the assignment for today, and you'll see that there are top view drawings and isometric drawings, 3D. And so we'll draw the 2D first and get that practice, especially drawing 3 views. The top view, which is looking down on this 3D model, and the front view is looking towards this little notch right here. You'll see it right there. And that same little notch is right there. You see when you're looking straight down. And then the side view, which is actually coming from this side over. So you're seeing this kind of long slanted piece right here. And the hidden line here represents the notch right there. And this other line right here represents the back where it transitions from the high point to the low point. So it's a little clearer when you see the 3D model up front. Oh, you can also see this little piece in the front, which is right here, that little piece. So visualize that all 3 of these views are this one model, top, front, side views. And so because of that, we don't have dimensions on all of the views. So for instance, that little piece right here we were talking about, if you follow the line over, you'll see that the front view is showing that it's 0.25. And then to draw this angle, we're going to draw it straight up all the way, and then know that the height of this front view comes over from the side view, 1.75. You see how if I follow that across? So we really don't know, unless we look at the math, where that line is in the top view, because it comes from the intersection of this diagonal line and this top line. Does everybody see that? It goes all the way straight up right there. So start trying to see things in 3D, and we're going to draw it first in 2D, and then we'll be able to work with it in 3D. Once we do that, we're going to, and I'll show you up front before we even get started, this one that's already completed. You see how, I don't know what this is over here. So, oh yeah, this is, this would be the miter lines that I used, but we'll see. So I copied this view over, I rotated it, and then I used press pull. Since this is like the centerpiece, press pull towards the left and the right to create this model. Now, once I did that, I went over to, so I'll go back over to the top view so you can see right there. There it is, that's our 2D. I went over to my layout, and over here, I'm going to have to make this a different color for now, because the dim text layer, we'll do this together, really should be white for these. There we go. For some reason, the conceptual view overrides the color of the text. So we want to make sure that our object and our dim text is going to be white, especially the dim text. Okay. So, yeah, at this point, once we draw it, we would be coming over to something like this, which is that hole in the paper. And we're going to create our own holes. So this time we're going to create a sketch of the viewport to be able to see the different views. And then we'll create another viewport right here. So let me go inside of it. See, that's like a hole to see the 3D view. And over here, if I double click inside a hole to see the 2D view. Okay, so this is one way of being able to create these kind of holes in the paper to be able to look down at the model and look at all the different views. And now, of course, there is a different way of creating the solid with the automatic views, and we'll look at that as a different assignment. And that process is not in the Mac computers, so we're going to show you it, but we'll let you draw it either way. Okay, that's another different assignment. So let's get started with a brand new drawing. We already created it. Let's double check our layers because we don't really need a center layer. If you did use the template, you can leave it in there if you have it. But we do want to make sure that the dim text layer is white. So click on that and make sure that you change that to color 7, which is white. Now, it doesn't matter to me what your object layer color is or your hidden, as long as it is hidden and you can see it, that's fine. But the dim text needs to be white. That's the only one that needs to be a specific color. All right. Now, like I said, you don't need the center layer. We just happen to have it because I used it in the template. And later on in the project, we looked at the command purge. If you ever wanted to purge out something that's not used, you can always type in PURGE and purge out the things that are unused. Okay. All right. So I need to save mine, but you go ahead and save yours to the file name that you need, and then we'll get started. Looking at this detail, we do have some information for the front view. There are a lot of different ways of doing this, guys. So you can start with the top view, you can start with the front view, but at some point you're going to need to stop and draw the other view in order to see where the objects are for the drawing that you started. So I'm going to randomly start the front view on the object layer. And so I'll start the line command. I'm just going to pick up this little 0.25. So I'm going to pick a point, pull your mouse straight down and type in 0.25 and enter. This is probably something you could do on your own, but I decided to create a video for it. So I drew this 0.25 down. I'll pull my mouse to the right and type in 3.88 and enter. Now, you know from the side view that this little piece is 1. So I'm going to pull my mouse up and type in 1 and enter. And that's it, really. I'm just going to pull my mouse all the way over here and click, right, and enter, because I know that it needs to stop where this 45-degree line goes. And I also know that the 45-degree line will stop at this 1.75. So let's draw the 45-degree line first. A quick way to do it is to come down here to your tracking settings. It's like the 4th icon over. The little arrow next to that, it should be blue, so it's on. Circle with a little angle in it. You should see a menu that looks like this. Let's make sure that you have a check mark in front of 45. We did this before, so it might have stayed there, but if you're working somewhere else, you may have to change that to 45. See, now if I start the line command and I click at the end of this 0.25 line, I can pull my mouse up and look for that 45-degree angle right there. Pull your mouse up. You don't know how far yet. Go ahead and click and enter. Right click and enter if you want. All right. See how I'm kind of like building this? You might even see a better way if you look over and you say, oh, I'm just going to start with the top view or something else. That's fine. Now I know that the top of the front view is 1.75. I'm getting it from the side view. So I'm going to get a little more practice. Start the offset command. Type in 1.75 and enter. Pick the bottom line right there as my object and pick above it. And there it is. Now, I did get out of the offset command, but looking at the front view, we do have 3.13 over to this line, this vertical line at the top. So let's offset this little line over 3.13. Start the offset command, type in 3.13 and enter. Pick this small line and pull your mouse to the right and click. Now we can right click and enter or escape out of that and click on that little line so that we can pick the top blue grip right there and just stretch it up to the top line right there. Use your escape key to get out of that. Now at this point, we can go ahead and start trimming because we can look at, what the front view looks like and kind of like clean it up, right? Clean it up. So we're going to start the trim command and trim out these lines that we don't need. We don't need these guys. We don't need this one right here. And now I'm starting to see my image a lot more and then enter. Now you could have just kept going and did this offset and some other things that are here. But I would, I like the tracking idea. It's up to you. You probably are starting to, in your head, think of all these different things that you can do with developing these two lines, these two vertical lines that are here that represent that little notch. You can see it in the 3D view right there. From the top view, to see we're getting dimensions from the side view and from the top view, that that notch starts at 1.69 over from the left, and then it is 0.5 wide there. So if you're more comfortable with just taking this little 0.25 line and offsetting it over 1.69, and then offset it and then stretching it up and offsetting that over 0.5, that's good. I'm going to show you how I would do it with the tracking. I'm going to start the line command. I'm just going to rest my pointer right there. I'm not going to click. And I'm going to pull my mouse to the right and type in 1.69 and enter. It should track over to 1.69. Now I can pull my mouse up and click. Right click and enter. And now you can offset that line if you'd like, or you can start the line command again. I'm going to right click and repeat the line. I'm going to just rest my pointer right there, pull my mouse over just a little bit to the right, type in 0.5 and enter. See how it tracks over to 0.5, pull my mouse up and click, right click and enter. All right, well, there's our side view minus this hidden line that we're going to get once we draw the top view. Okay, so we're going to keep these fairly close to each other, but a good way to start might be to track up to keep them in line with each other. And we're just going to keep enough space to get this dimension in here in this top view. We don't want too much space because remember, we're going to fit everything in that viewport. So we want to keep it tight, or we'll have to move it later on, which, I mean, that's possible too. All right, so start the line command and just rest your pointer at the top of that little 0.25 line. You see how I'm pulling my mouse straight up to track, straight up, and I've still got that green tracking vector right there. I'm probably going to start maybe around right here. I'm going to click. I'm going to pull my mouse to the right and type in 1.69 and enter. And now I know that this little notch based on the top view dimensions right there is 0.5. So I'll pull my mouse up and type in 0.5 and enter. I know that it's 0.5 wide, so I'll pull my mouse to the right and type in 0.5 and enter. And then down, now here's another tracking opportunity. You can type in 0.5, or you can rest your pointer here at the end of that line, pull your mouse up until you see both green tracking vectors and click. If you're not comfortable with that, it's okay. You try it, because here you would have to do the math, right? You'd have to take 3.88 and subtract the 1.69 and the 0.5 to get how long this line is. Or you can rest your pointer down here on the front view, pull your mouse up, make sure that's a green tracking vector, and then click. Pull your mouse up to type in 1.5 and enter for the thickness or the width of this. And then we're coming over. Right, we're coming over. Well, we could just come on over, all the way over, and click. Right click and enter, because we still need to draw. We still need to draw up 0.75, because if you look over here, 0.75 is half of it. So we're going to go up 0.75 and over 0.38 and then connect it. So start the line command, click the bottom left corner, pull your mouse up, type in 0.75 and enter. Pull your mouse to the right, type in 0.38 and enter. And then you can pull your mouse up here until it hits and click. Right click and enter. I don't need to have perpendicular on. I had it on for something else, so I'm going to take it off. What I really make sure that you have on is the extension and the intersection right there. And you also have to make sure that you have these blue down here. You need the polar tracking on. You need this object snap tracking. You need your object snaps. These are all on by default in blue. And there it is. Now it's up to you if you want to trim this, or you can click on it and click inside the blue grip and pull it back, stretch it back. And now you've got at least the outline. I'm going to use my escape key for the top view. If we look at what we need, you're able to kind of follow some lines from the front view. This is the reason I'm doing this with you. More practice, and also transitioning, drawing 2D, creating 3D from it. So we're going to start the line command, and notice this line in the top view comes from right here. So I'm going to rest my pointer there. Okay, pull my mouse up right there, click. I know it goes up halfway. I could type in 0.75, or I could track over to get that 0.75 and click. Now where this is coming over is at this vertical down at the top, at the front view. So I'm going to rest my pointer there, pull my mouse up and click, and then pull my mouse up to the top and click. Right click and enter. You see, I was able to use the endpoints from the front view to get where this diagonal line stops. And we're talking about this surface right here. Look in the 3D model. The 3D model will show you that you've got this kind of L shape with the notch. You've got like this box, and you've got this sloped piece. Now, originally, on the original drawing, if you really look, while I was talking about templates, this line was missing right there. I had to go back in and grab it from the top of where the diagonal stops, right there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to draw that line in, the line that represents this corner right here. Because anytime there's like an edge, you're going to see it in the top view. So I'm going to start the line command, rest my pointer here at the end of the diagonal, pull my mouse up to the second line right there and click, pull your mouse over and click, right click and enter. There it is. That's using the front view and some of the dimensions that were given to create this detail. Now we're ready for the side view, which really we can use some of the dimensions. I was using the miter method to kind of bring those over, but let's see if we can do it without the miter method. I think we can. So start the line command, and it might be easy for you to visualize it if we start at the bottom line. So just rest your pointer at the bottom left corner of the front view, pull your mouse over just slightly, and click. Now, if you pull your mouse to the left, we know that this is 1.5 from the top view. Enter. That's how wide it is. We're going to pull our mouse up. You can type in 1.75 and enter, or you see, you could have tracked from this corner over. Pull your mouse to the right and type in 0.75 and enter. We can come down here. We already know by the side view that this is 1. If the whole thing is 1.75, that means that this piece right here is 0.75. So I can pull my mouse down and type in 0.75, or I can track because it represents, see how it's 0.75? It represents that straight line over there in the front view. So you can pull your mouse down and type in 0.75, or you can track over to it. And now, again, if you want to figure out the math and take the 1.5 and subtract 0.75 and then pull your mouse over and type in 0.75, that's fine. But I'm going to track. I'm going to rest my pointer here at the corner, pull my mouse up. You see it's 0.75 and click. And now you could type in C for close as long as you did the whole thing in one line command. It's there. All right. So this is where it gets a little bit challenging, but I want you to look at the 3D model. In fact, I'm going to come over here and look at it with you, because the side view is really that little box back there. See that? That's this small rectangle in the front right there. And then this whole right here sloped area. Let's not look at the hidden lines yet. Let's get the solid lines first. And if we look at how they relate to the front view, you can see that it's based on where this hidden line is in the front view. So let's draw the hidden line first. We can draw it as a solid line and then move it to the hidden layer. That works as well. So we need to pull it down from here, this back line right there. So I'm going to start the line command, and on the front, for the front view hidden line there, we're going to rest your pointer right there at the top view. It's 0.38, guys. So you could do an offset of 0.38, stretch it up, and put it on the hidden layer. I'm just using tracking to bring it down right there. You can see my tracking vector. Click, pull your mouse down and click, right click and enter. Now, guys, if you wanted to take that little 0.25 line and offset it 0.38 and then stretch it up, that's fine too. Let's click on it and drop down this layer list and pick hidden and use your escape key. You can see right away that the hidden line type scale, LT scale, is a little bit bigger. If you look at the drawing, it's tighter, right? So let's take a look at what that would be. It looks like we used, for that hard copy that you're getting, the line type scale is 0.75. So type in LT scale, enter, and then type in 0.75 and enter. And you'll see it's the same line type scale as the hard copy assignment paper. All right, with that drawn now, we have a clear idea of where this line comes across for this little like box over here in the bottom corner. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start the line command. I'm going to rest my pointer on the top of the hidden line. I'm going to go all the way over to the far left to track over there and click. Then I'm going to come over 0.75. Now you can type it in if you want, but I already know that this line right here is 0.75. So I'm just going to rest my pointer here, pull my mouse down and click, then pull my mouse down and click, right click and enter. I know it gets a little bit challenging, but that's where you learn. You learn from doing and working it out. So the top of this hidden line is actually this little box right there. And now we have another line right there that represents the 0.25, this thinner triangle. No, rectangle. Let's start the line command. Rest your pointer at the top of this 0.25 line, pull your mouse over and click. and then over here and click, right click and enter. There it is, guys. I hope you can kind of visualize the side view by looking at the 3D model here. You'll see that there's a square there, there's the rectangle there, and there's the sloped piece that kind of zigzags over. And all of these points are based on the dimensions and getting those edges from the other views. All right, now this is a little bit different. You could set up the miter method angle and get this, but we already have the dimension. We already know that this notch is coming back 0.5. So let's just offset this line over 0.5. That's what that hidden line is. So start the offset command, type in 0.5 and enter. Click on this in the side view, on this right line right there. Pull your mouse over and click. Right click and enter. Now this hidden line is just drawn right there. So I'm just going to draw a line from here to here. And now we have to make sure we move it to the right layer. So we're going to click on these two lines. That one that represents the little notch going back, and this one that represents the back, this back line. I'm going to drop my list down here of layers and click hidden, and that's what that is. Use your escape key to get out of that. That, I don't think I missed any lines on this one. That is our 2D drawing. A little bit more experience with that. Now we can dimension it, and I think everything should be good for you to dimension. I'm going to make the dim text layer current. And honestly, we should make the object layer a different color. Because with this view, it's going to be 2D wireframe. The other view is going to be monochrome, so it shouldn't be affected. Let's make the object layer yellow. We can see it's yellow, right? We have the dim text layer is white. We're going to make the dim text layer current. And now we're ready to dimension. I think the only one that might give you a hard time, because we're going to be using linear just like we did before, is angular. Like angular, you're going to need to click on the angled line right there and this little 0.25 line, both those two. Then you can pull your mouse up, and it's okay if you bring it, you probably should bring it a little bit further than where I had it. You see how this arrow gets kind of like in the way? You can bring it to there if you want. That would look nice. And so when we start to dimension, let's go back to linear. I just want to make sure that, we've got everything set up for you. I think you'll see there it is. You're going to type in D and enter, pick modify, change your precision here to 0.00. And also we put a check mark in front of leading with the zero suppression. Because see, I don't see a 0 in front of 0.25 or 0.5. And so pick OK, close, and there you go. So why don't you go ahead and dimension this, and then we'll come back. All right, so while I was dimensioning, I did notice a few things. If you wanted to leave the 0.75 out over here, that's okay, or you can click on it and use grips. We already know that. The 0.25 comes over here, so you will need to click on that and then click inside. So be careful here, because you're not clicking and holding your left mouse button down, because that will move the whole thing. You're going to click inside the blue grip and then let go and then pull it to where you want it and click. Because when you first draw this, I think it goes over here, it overlaps. But everything else is pretty clear. The text is also the default text height. So if you didn't do this, you might want to pause the video and work with it under multi-line text right there. We're going to put the top view, the front view, and the side view. Okay, so now we have everything 2D drawn. And, before we create a 3D, why don't we go over to layout and create the viewport? I usually would say let's create the 3D, but I'd like you to see the process, right? Before we create the 3D model, let's get the 2D in the paper. So the first thing we want to do is create a new layer called viewports. I know the last video we put them on def points, but this is how a lot of companies do it. Let's go ahead and click the layer properties button and create a new layer, and it's going to be called viewport. Some companies will call it vport, the ones that are using layouts for their papers. So create a new layer called viewport, and we're going to change the color. I like to change the color to something that I don't use very often. Like I either use a light brown or a light gray, something that I don't use for any of my layer standards. And then I'll go ahead and pick OK. Now here's the main thing. The viewport layer needs to be a no plot layer. This is another tool we're using. It's the column that says plot. We're going to click on that little printer. Now guys, if you're printing and you can see it in the file, like in your view, but when you go to print, it's not showing up. This is the first place I look. Somehow these other ones accidentally got turned off. The only one we went off is the viewport layer. And before we switch over to layout 1, we're going to make it current. If you make it current, then it will be that layer for the viewport. So make it the current layer and then close out of this. Here it is. We got the viewport layer is current. Now we can click on layout 1. See what it did? It automatically made the viewport that color. Now, if that didn't happen, you would have to click on the viewport and go make sure it's on the viewport layer, or else it will print and it won't look right. Anyways, I wanted to show you that, but we're just going to get rid of this one. So go ahead and click right on it because you're in the paper and just delete it. We don't have anything created here. Okay. So there are a couple things we need to do. The first thing we'll do, we're in the paper. See how this is a piece of paper? We're going to have the viewport layer current, and we're going to go up to the layout tab, the layout menu, let's call it. It's not the layout one down here. It's up at the top in the middle. It changes the ribbon so that you're in the layout ribbon. Yeah. And so over here, you see we were creating rectangular viewports. But what we want to do is get the experience of creating a polygonal. It's like creating a polygon. It's you're creating an irregular shape viewport because we need it to be like L shape, right? So click on this drop down and click on polygonal. And now this is where we're going to create this kind of viewport that comes all the way around the sheet. You can look at what I'm doing here, but we want to make sure that we give ourselves, and this doesn't matter if it's perfectly, straight, because I just want to make sure that I'm closing it back to this point right there. And once I do that, it should show you the hole right there. Now, we could change the color of our object layer, but I think I'd rather show you something else. We're going to make this paper display black. Display like the yellow lines black. So we're going to set it up under printing. Down here under layout 1, you're going to right click with your pointer on layout 1, go to page setup manager, pick the modify button. We're setting up this layout. This specific layout right here, we're going to set it up for printing. We're going to change this plotter to PDF, high quality print, right there. Nothing else down here changes. The only other thing we're changing are the pen assignments. We wanted those to be monochrome. This is the key right here. We're changing the pen assignments to monochrome here, and we're putting a check mark in display plot styles. See, we're changing this layout to be monochrome, and we're going to display it as monochrome. So that means no matter what the colors are in the layers, it's still going to print like a preview. It's going to print black and white. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK and close. And you see what it did? It made those yellow lines look black. Now, what I can see right now is that because the paper changed a little bit, I can click on this and kind of stretch this over a little. I can click on this line right here and stretch that over a little. You see what I'm doing? I'm like stretching it out so that my drawing can be in there. And you may have to pick a few points. You see how that kind of like went weird? It doesn't matter. It's only an opening, right? And you can also double click inside that hole and use the pan command to kind of like pan it around to get it in there. And, since you're here, if you needed to pull something down, you're inside the viewport. If I needed to pull this down, I could click on it, click inside the script and like pull it down a little bit more, which I don't really need to. So this is where you're going to make a few changes to make it fit in here. And then you can come down here and turn the grid off if you want, right there at the bottom. Makes it look a little bit better. So I think this, you can move things around and get it to fit inside that viewport so that we know that we're printing. Okay, so double click out into the paper. And now you have your beginning of your 2D. Now let's make sure that this viewport right there is on the viewport layer. So click on it and come over here to the layer dropdown and make sure it's on the viewport layer so that it doesn't print. All right. Since we're here, let's cut a hole for our model as well. It's going to come right here in this area. I'm going to use my escape key. Yeah, go back to the layout ribbon. And this time, instead of using polygonal, we can go over to rectangular under the layouts, because under the layout ribbon, so we're creating a viewport. And you see how I can just kind of come in here and be careful of the object snaps, although you could go right to it. It's just a little bit easier to get a little bit out of it and come over here and click. Now, when we come back to this, we're definitely going to come into this viewport and find our model when we create it. Right now, we don't have the model, but let's go back now to the model tab. Right here, we're in the model space. We're going to completely transition over to 3D now. All right, so we know that we need to change the ribbon. That's one thing. So we're going to go down to the bottom right corner. Use that little, you see that little gear icon? You're going to click the arrow to the right of the little gear icon. Instead of using drafting and notation ribbon, we're going to go to 3D modeling right there. So the whole ribbon changes to give us our 3D model shapes. And I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit closer to this because this is what we want, right? Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. And we also need to, in AutoCAD, change our view from top to like southeast isometric. Let's do that. Here we are in a southeast isometric view. And since we're at it, we might as well change our 2D wireframe to conceptual. Makes it a little bit easier for us to work with. All right, so here's the idea. We're going to copy this view out over here so that we can use it. And then we're going to copy it. And yeah, we can rotate it. We can either create press pull first and rotate it, or we can rotate the image and press pull. Either way, let's copy it and start with press pull, right? So start the copy command, which is under the modify panel. It's just the regular copy. It's up there next to trim. And, you know, if you accidentally get a couple of dimensions, that's okay too. We just want to make sure that we get all of the objects. We're copying them. You're going to select them, enter, click a point here, put your mouse over a specific, like way over here, like away from your drawing right here, so that we can put that in a different view when we go over to the paper, and click. Right click and enter. So here's our copy. And make sure it's a copy, guys, and you didn't move it. So you got a copy of that. And now at this point, I mean, I could have turned off the dimensions and then copied it, but then I have to turn the dimensions back on. So at this point, I'm just going to erase all the dimensions. And now I have this to work with. All right. Yeah, we might as well use press pull right now as we're working with it. What we're doing is this piece right here is the middle. I think you would clearly see it better if we rotated this up like 90 degrees. So let's rotate it, 3D model, rotate, 3D rotate. We're going to rotate it from this corner just up 90 degrees. So we're going to go under modify and we're going to find this really colorful sphere that's just diagonal from the erase. It should say 3D rotate. Let's go ahead and click on that. We did this once in the introduction video, but let's apply it now. So start the 3D rotate command, select all of these images right here. So put your, select them all and enter. Watch your command line. We're going to click here. The bottom corner is the base point. And then we're going to pick one of these rings. We need the red ring right here. So it's a red line because that's the axis. We want to rotate around the x-axis. So I'm going to click. And then look at your command line. We can just type in 90 and enter. 90 and enter. You may have to do that a couple of times. If you hold your shift key and the wheel of your mouse, you can kind of like orbit around and see, oh yeah, I use 3D rotate to take that 2D geometry and rotate it up. Now, this is where press pull, you need to make sure, first of all, that it is rotated. See how I can see that it's rotated. Okay, so when we use press pull, because we rotated it, we have to rotate our UCS icon, this one, just like when we put dimensions on it. Usually I leave it flat and then I use press pull and then I rotate the whole 3D model. You can go either way, right? So I decided in this video, not sure why, to rotate the 2D geometry so that we could press pull out this way and out the other way, since this is like the midpoint of like a cut through the middle of this model. So we won't be able to use press pull until we get this UCS icon over to this corner and rotate it up. So we can click on this UCS icon, click on the little box right there. We're familiar with this. Click and put it right there. Now you can see that the XY is not straight up. So I'm going to click on the Y and pull my mouse up and click on the top line right there. You see what it does? It pulls the plane over, the XY plane over in line with this geometry. So if I do this, you can see, you see that? I'm putting that XY plane on that surface. Now I can use press pull. I'm going to click inside this little piece, this little triangular piece. You got to move your mouse around until you see like the image of it, and then click inside of it right there. Pull your mouse out and type in 0.75 and enter. Okay, we need to also get this piece. I'm going to click on this, pull my mouse out. Now you don't have to type in 0.75, you can, or you can go right to the end of this one and click. Now this little notch right here, it goes back 0.5, but it's 0.75. So just do the math and you'll know that it comes out 0.25, right? So click on this notch, the line work for the notch, pull your mouse out this way and type in 0.25 and enter, because that'll make this notch a 0.5 since the whole thing is 0.75. I'm going to click in this last box right here, pull my mouse out. Now, this is another one where you can type in 0.75 or you can click at the corner of what you've already done. And now I've got that. Now, the top part goes out the other way. I know this is a little bit challenging, but I think if you follow through here, you'll be able to press pull these out, hold your shift key in the wheel of your mouse, come over to the other side, right? Now, on this one, we don't have this part, this front part over. We just have this. We can click on this, pull this over, 0.75 and enter. See how that's coming along like that? And then this one is as well. This one's coming out to 0.75. And in fact, this one is as well, coming right out to 0.75. And then this is the tricky one. This one, you may have to move your mouse around like this and move your mouse around. You see what I mean? I had to like orbit around until I could kind of see the line work. And I can click in here and pull that over and click. And that is the model. So we went 0.75 out from that middle piece, because we have a flat piece on the back, all the way around. It should look sort of like that. Cool. Good job, guys. So a new command that we're going to use, since we just started 3D, that's the reason I'm going through these first ones together, is a command called union. And it's in this home tab under solid editing. You'll see that there's a little icon for a solid intersection, which is finding the intersection of two solids and creating that form out of it. You can look at the little preview there. There's solid subtract, where we can subtract one solid from another. And then there's union. And union is just what it sounds like. You're creating a union of all of it. Now, when we use union, usually we can select the whole thing. But because we have 2D geometry in there, it won't work, right? So we're going to click on each piece to union it together. So start the solid union command, or just type in union. There it is. And just start selecting each one of these little pieces right here, here, and there. I think it's, yeah, we got them all. And now we'll just go ahead and enter. And now when you go close to the shape, you'll see that the whole thing is all one. And you can click on it and hold your left mouse button down on it and drag it over here and let go. And you'll see there's your 2D geometry that you use to create it. Now it's up to you. You can go ahead and delete this if you'd like, and you'll have your model right there. Now the other choice would have been to leave the 2D geometry, flat, and then use press pull to press it up and down without having to change this UCS icon, the XY plane. And then you would need to 3D rotate the whole model up 90 degrees. So at this point, we can type in UCS and enter, and then see how it goes on your pointer. And then you can enter again, and it'll put it back down so that the XY is in that flat original plane. All right, so now we have both in here. We can go over to our layout, double click inside this viewport, and change. See how now you can see it here? You can't see it in the irregular shaped one, but here you can go up to top and southeast isometric right inside the viewport. You have to double click inside of it, change your 2D wireframe to conceptual, and then come close to your model. You can hold your shift key in the wheel of your mouse and orbit over. Now it's kind of a custom view. It kind of looks sort of like that, but you got it. There it is. I'm going to double click outside of the viewport, and now we need to put our title on there. Now, guys, make sure you go over to layers and you don't put your text on the viewport layer. In fact, our entire model is still on the viewport layer because I didn't change it. So watch out for that, right? Because if you print it, right now, if we did a print preview, we wouldn't be able to see our model. So I have to double click here, grab that model, come over to layer, and make sure it's not on the viewport layer. It should be on the object layer, or you can put it on layer 0, because layer 0 would be that black white color to make it look right. It doesn't matter really, but if you put it on the object layer, it's going to be yellow, which is fine. But when I click out here in space, double click, it's going to look like it's yellow, which is fine. I don't care if you keep this one yellow, but when you print, it's going to print when you print it to a black and white with monochrome, it's going to look like a light gray. So it's up to you. You go ahead and do whatever, put that on whatever layer you want to put it on. 0 objects, make it yellow, make it green. Just don't have it on the viewport layer or the def points layer because you want it to print, right? So let's make sure now that we have that done and we're double clicked out in the paper. You know it's paper because you got the triangle and the little word down there that says paper. Let's make the current layer the dim text, because now we're going to put the assignment 18 on there. And I just put it right here over these two because these two should not print. So go over to annotate at the top and find your multi-line text. And we're just going to put it right here. You can put it wherever you want. Here it is. Cap locks on, assignment 18, and then put your name here. And highlight assignment 18 and underline it and click in space, like way over here. So you have to kind of imagine that these 2 lines are not going to print. And they shouldn't. Let's make sure. Let's go to print and continue a single plot. We already set it all up, so let's preview. Right, so when you preview, you shouldn't see the boxes, the viewports, because we put those on the viewport layer. We made it a no plot layer, but you should see your objects that are like bolder, right? Your hidden lines and your dimensions are lighter. And I'm fine with this being a color. You know that when you print it, if you print it to a color printer, yeah, it's going to be color, but depending, because we made it a monochrome. Right. Okay, good job, guys. Looking good. Hopefully you're picking up a few things there. Being able to draw something in 2D with 3 different views is kind of good to practice, and then to be able to copy this over, either use press pull right away and then use 3D rotate and union, or what I did was I 3D rotated up the 2D geometry, but then I had to put the UCS icon up on it and rotate it 90 degrees so that it was in line with it. And then I used press pull and union to union those together and use the layouts to set it up. All right, learning something new every assignment and getting the good practice.